All right, welcome to a brand new webisode. Let me get the camera positioned here. I'm in my office. It's Monday afternoon, working on tomorrow's show, and I had a webisode recorded in studio with James T, but I positioned the camera wrong and didn't realize it until we were done. You couldn't see me, and it was hard to hear James, so I'll try to do a better job of that later on. I want to talk just real quick, though. It's been a while since I've recorded a webisode, and I got to get something off my chest. The interview with Diane Sawyer interviewing Congresswoman Giffords is airing tonight. We've been running a ton of promos for it. It's on K-Gun 9 on your side, and I guess Good Morning Tucson tomorrow is apparently supposed to interview Diane Sawyer about her interview with Congresswoman Giffords. Something hasn't been sitting well with me. It hasn't been sitting well with me for a long, long time. It has nothing to do with Congresswoman Giffords' political affiliation either. There's just this gnawing at me when I hear about the interviews or I hear about Congresswoman Giffords. Now, it's not about her recovery. You'd have to be a cold-hearted SOB to not sympathize for what happened on that tragic day. So many of us had to live through it, and we'll never forget that day and what transpired afterwards. That gnawing feeling inside, and I think it's a feeling that a lot of different people have, but they just don't realize it or haven't been able to put their finger on it. It's the fact that that day, that horrible day, has been tainted. It started with Pima County Sheriff Clarence Dupnick, and then it steamrolled into this call for civility. And that gnaws at me. And every time we hear about January 8th, and every time we hear, at least for me, when I see a picture of Congresswoman Giffords, it's part, wow, it's amazing she's recovered this far, and then there's a frustration because of what the left has done in trying to craft this argument when it comes to civility that had nothing to do with that day. Because make no mistake, this call for civility was a distraction, and it was a way for the left to go and say, hey, look, we're doing something. We're doing something about the problem of politics and civility. It gives them the ability to make themselves feel better about themselves. Ultimately, that uncivilized behavior mostly comes from the left. Look at the Occupy Wall Street movement. It's the radical progressives and it's liberalism that has no set standard, that can rationalize, that is hypocritical. And what they've done is they've created this call for civility to sort of give them a caveat that says, well, we know better and we're calling for civility, and then put that uncivilized behavior on the right, when really it's the left that does it. They did it to make themselves feel better. They did it to own both sides of the argument. See, now they can be as irrational and hypocritical as they want to be because they already feel justified in doing so because they have no set standard. And now they can say, well, and we're calling for civility on top of all of this. And isn't it interesting? I have on my desktop on the computer. I'll click it back open here. I won't move the camera to show you, but I want to be able to see it. It's this National Institute for Civil Discourse is doing this. It's a Could You Fix the Federal Deficit Interactive Budget Simulation Exercise. Now, apart from that, Karen Ulick, the new mayor-elect Jonathan Rothschild, and other politicians got together with this Common Ground organization in conjunction with this National Institute for Civil Discourse. Isn't it interesting that we haven't heard anything about civility in months? And in light of what's been going on Occupy Wall Street, it doesn't surprise me in the least bit. Talk about uncivilized. It's the definition of uncivilized. Violent, law-breaking, deadly, disease. We haven't heard anything about it, and yet, right as we are about to hear a whole bunch more about Congresswoman Giffords than we've heard in who knows how long, suddenly pops up the National Institute for Civil Discourse and talk of civility again. They're trying to own both sides of the argument. And it's really, really sad because the focus of all of this should just be on the Congresswoman and her miraculous recovery and the triumph of the human spirit. And unfortunately, it's been tainted because individuals, starting with Pima County Sheriff Clarence Dupnick, saw a means to propel an agenda and to try to score political points and create a narrative. And it's tainted the whole thing. So if you're watching and you have felt that gnawing inside and you've maybe thought that you're a bad person, when you know that you sympathize for what happened, and never want to see violence enter politics because violence has no place in politics. But yet you still had that gnawing feeling, perhaps it's the fact that you realized what I realized, and that is that tragedy was hijacked by a false narrative in order to give the left the ability to be as hypocritical and as irrational as they want to be. I wish nothing but the best for Congresswoman Giffords and for her husband, Mark Kelly. I think it's unfortunate for them as well that individuals decided to go and hijack and use that horrible tragedy for their own political gain. That is sad. That's uncivilized. Thanks for watching.